Just let me know
Looks
if we're live or not.
you're live now.
Okay? Okay.
Okay. Okay. So our first streaming spec the worst, but still. Yeah. So hi guys. I'm here with Ram. My name is Mao. We will have the blueprint class for beginners. And I'm a 3D artist, so I'm clueless about blueprints. So the idea is that after Ram teaches, I will be able to understand a little bit more about it. So feel free to put your questions in the chat. I will be watching them. I'll watch you, and I will let know Ram. Uh, so, yeah. So let's get started with blueprints.
Yeah. Before I forget, I'm gonna create an Unreal 5 project. Let me change that project location. Just wait a minute. Quick access. And if you want to follow along, then also you can do it.
By the way, share your screen to me.
Oh right. Yeah. I forgot about.
We have enough time for the class, so make sure you have some food, some Coke, some snacks.
Well, I want to create a new project. There it is. So to create a project, games, let's use a blank one for now. Blueprints is okay, and I call it blueprints demo. Yeah, so while that's being created, let's start with a topic at hand, and we even have slides to make it a little more professional. So yeah, the topic is introduction to blueprints, and all the information you will see in this little class will be information that you can use in Unreal 4 as well as in Unreal 5. I'll be using Unreal 5 because it's shiny and new, but it hasn't changed that much. So we'll see the first steps to build functionality in Unreal Engine. No? So what we will go over in this class will be how scripting is done, what it is, how we can do it in Unreal Engine, how to use blueprints, that it's the scripting, the visual scripting language that you can find in Unreal Engine, and the difference between class blueprints and level blueprints. We will get into it. You just have to wait a minute. The elements of a class blueprint: construction script, event graph, components, events, custom events, stuff that you can use to create more functionality, right? And at the end, we will quickly overview the gameplay framework that it would be a next step to take if you want to dig deeper and go further in your blueprint knowledge, right? The only requirements for this class is a little bit of knowledge of the Unreal Engine editor. If you don't have a knowledge about that editor, here it is. Here is the Unreal 5 editor. We can control the viewport, right clicking on it. You can move. If you keep pressing right click, you can move like it is a first person shooter. So that's quite nice. Let me click update here, and let me open this little application, so any hotkey I do and I forget to mention, it will show in the screen. So blueprints, they exist within Unreal 5 and Unreal in general, Unreal Engine. If you haven't used Unreal Engine, a quick overview: it's a game engine that it's being used for games and all types of applications. architectural visualization, virtual production, and it gives really good results real fast. Part of why it looks so awesome is because it uses physically based rendering. We can use also blueprints and materials to create instructions of how the things will look and blueprints to how the things will interact. There's also a lot of tools within Unreal, like the tool to create particle effects. There are film tools, level design tools, and well, physics engine, a lot of stuff. But what we'll be talking today will be about scripting. Scripting will be the sequence of commands that are used to link elements and create interaction. This will result in gameplay. Because your game, or well, your application, it's not only pretty looking things. I know mouse perspective is just to make it look good, but in order to have all that the client may want or the game designer may want, you need to add something to create interaction, to create gameplay. So the combination of both will result in your application that it may be a game, it may be something else. And here's in the scripting part that blueprints will help us. Blueprints is a type of visual programming that is based on nodes, and it allows the creation of gameplay without the need of knowing C++. Here I have put that hybrid development is recommended. Hybrid development means that you are using C++ and blueprints in the same project because each one of them has their strengths and their weakness. But we can go into that in another class or a stream because it can get really long explaining the why would I use one or the other, right? Today we will learn blueprints, and the strength of blueprint is that you can iterate very quickly, has a fast iteration time, and it's easy for artists and designers to pick up. Because it's a visual programming, we really don't need to worry about too much about the syntaxes. There are a first barrier, a great one, for maybe tech artists to start learning code is that even though the logic that they apply to their programs is good, it's alright, it's correct, maybe the program doesn't run because they are missing a colon, a semicolon, some syntaxes that the language needs in order to work. So that becomes a real headache. In this case, Blueprint being a visual programming type of stuff, you don't really need that. You just need to know the names of the nodes and have a little logic and apply it in order for them to work easily. So how to use blueprints and how would we use them? We need to know that there are two types of blueprints. There is a level blueprint and a class blueprint. The level blueprint only exists inside the level it is created. And you don't really need to create the blueprints. I'm gonna put the Unreal editor on my other desktop. So for example here, an untitled level has been created by default whenever I open a new project of Unreal. And this level, even though I have not created a level blueprint, it's auto-created. We can access it by clicking here on blueprints and open level blueprint. And it should have the same name as the level. It is untitled. If I want to save this level, let me save it, save current level. I'm gonna create a new folder that it's called the same as my project, Blueprints Demo. save, and rename. Here is blueprints, here is maps. I'm gonna call it m demo map. M for map. Save it. And now both the map and the blueprint, the level blueprint, has the same name. So this blueprint only exists within this level. If we create another level, any code that we add here will not carry over. We would need to copy and paste it. So that's the main difference between a level blueprint and a class blueprint. And well, class blueprints allows us to create instances inside the level. Just to get some terminology out of the way, whatever stuff we drag into the level, it's considered an actor. This point light, its class is a point light, but the base class of this is an actor because it can be put in a level. All actors create instances whenever we drag and drop them in the level, because whenever we want to load something, we just want to load it one time, and then if there are more than one of those objects in my level, we don't need to load the class again from the disk. We can instance it. So these are called instance. What this means, if I change something here, for example, I want to change the color, it's not gonna affect all the lights. Where's the color? Light color. Let's say I want some type of green. Now it's green. This light is green, but this other instance is not being affected by the changes of this one. Just to keep to have it clear, the difference of instances and classes. Classes would be the class that define the behavior of this object, and the instance would be the objects inside the level that share the class properties like light, color, intensity, but if I change the value of an instance, the other instances are unaffected. So let's start with the level blueprint. It will be the easiest to get into it. And if there are any questions, I will be checking the chat. Oh yeah, there's also Mauricio that is checking it, so yeah, I don't need to worry.
Not for now. I think one of the most common questions that people have when they start is like, how do you choose if you want to create a level blueprint or a class blueprint? It seems to me that the first impression is that class blueprints are super powerful because you can use it anywhere. So why will you use the level blueprint if you cannot reuse it?
Right. So the level blueprint is most commonly used for stuff that only belong on that level. Maybe you want like the Indiana Jones rock that, I don't know, a trap. You press a trigger and I don't know, a big sphere comes rolling down to you, and you will only have this on one level. You don't want to reuse it because it's something really iconic of that level or really characteristic. So in those cases, like making a class blueprint out of it may be a little too much. I mean, you could make a class blueprint out of everything, but some things that pertain only to the level makes more sense to have it there. So
it should be very specific.
Yeah,
it should be very specific. I guess it's used for scripting, like level events, very particular, so you can have complete control over what happens in that level.
Yeah, and in talking about in production, it's more used whenever you want to trigger cinematics. because those cinematics mostly belong in one level, so it's really specific.
Gotcha.
So let's open the level blueprint of this demo map. Blueprints, open level blueprint. And I will present you this little interface of blueprints. So here in the top, we have the toolbar that in Unreal 5 is a little more small, which is actually great because those big buttons really didn't have too much appeal to me. The first button is compile. Compile means that it will take all of the code we have added, all the nodes here, and will process it so the next time it runs, you don't need to do this extra step of processing it. It just executes all the things that we have tell it to execute, right? The difference, main difference, we said that it was fast iteration, and by fast iteration it means that compile times are really small. If we added, I don't know, this node that it's very common called print string, that it makes a string show up in the viewport. We have added some code and Unreal knows this, so it asks us to compile. It says it's dirty because something has changed, so we need to compile in order to play the game easily. If I press play, it will auto-compile, but if it had errors, my pressing play will be stopped. And sometimes in big blueprints you can press play and it can crash your engine depending on what you're doing. So usually what I do is save and compile, just in case compiling crashes the blueprint. That it really only happens when the project is like 2 years long and it doesn't have like a solid structure. So it really shouldn't happen to you guys, but just in case, I always save and compile because I have trauma from Unreal like 4.0 that used to happen like a lot. So now that we have compiled, you see that our compile time is really fast. We can see the output log. If you want to open the output log, is here, view on Windows, output log, and I have it in my other screen. We can see that all the compiling was like 3 milliseconds, so it's really fast. In C++, that can take from 1 second up to 10, depending on your machine. So, and even doing that, even compiling in C++, then sometimes you need to reopen the editor, so it increases the iteration time. So that's why Blueprints is so fast in iteration, and usually when someone wants to do a prototype, it's done only in Blueprints, and then you can migrate some things to C++ whenever that the idea has reached a point where it can be sold. So let's start with this little demo. Here I'm gonna do a demo using conditional platforms. Maybe the chat says hello. Can you say hello? So the level blueprint, we will do this demo where in the Mario games, I don't remember which one, but in most of them, you have these switches, these colored switches. If you press one of these switches in other levels, these dotted boxes will become solid. So it helps a little bit reach some secrets, make it a little easier. So the logic it's using would be something like this. And whenever you start programming, if you have never scripted before, it's good to have an idea of how will the flow will go before just typing all the code. So here I have a little flowchart. So we want to show the platform whenever the level starts. If the platform of the same color of the switch, if the switch of the same color has been pressed, then all the platforms that are the same color should appear, right? So the start of the level, we want to ask if the switch is turned on. If the green switch is turned on, then all the green platforms should be on. If it's off, then all the green platforms should be dotted or, well, gone. They shouldn't appear. So if the switch is on, yes, then we should show the platform and then activate the platform collision. And the flow ends. And if it's not turned on, then we shouldn't need to have to do anything, right? So let's do it in Unreal. My chart, my graph, my flow says that it should happen when the level starts. And in blueprints, we have these two common nodes that are colored red. The red means that there are events, and events execute whenever something else tells them to execute. In this case, what tells this node to run is the same engine. This node is called begin play, so it is run whenever the level plays or the game starts. I'll put the previous node again, like print string, and the classic code that one learns whenever a new language is being taught is the hello world string, right? So begin level means that this should run whenever I press play. So I will compile, I will press play, and it should show here hello world, and it did. Hello world, there it is. It only shows for 2 seconds because here the duration is 2 seconds. If I change this to 50 seconds, I can press play and it will stay there for the duration I have assigned it. So doing these debug strings, let me know if the event is being correctly executed. In this case, I press play and it runs, so it's fine. So this should be the start of my functionality. And just to be more complete, I said that these are the two events that are most common. The other event is the tick event. This event runs every frame. So if we added some code here, then our screen will be filled with hello world. So let's begin with what we want to do, right? We want a platform that becomes visible whenever the switch of the same color has been pressed. So first, let's create the platform. For a platform, I will create shapes, and a cube should be fine. This will be my platform. In this case, it's white. And I'm gonna scale it a little bit just to make it a little more platformy. Play, and I can see the platform. Right. Now I will go to the level blueprint again, level blueprint. And here in the begin play, if we go back to the slide, we want to ask if the switch is turned on or off. In order to ask that, we need to control the flow of execution. If I right click here to add a new node, I can type flow, and there are a lot of nodes that let me control that flow. The one that we will use and is the most common is branch, and let us take decisions depending on a condition, right? So if I connect this here, if this condition is true, it will be whatever I put on top will be executed. If it's false, whatever is connected here, it will execute. In this case, what I want to do is to show the platform and activate the platform condition, and if it's off, then I should do the reverse. So I need to do something to this platform that I can find in my level, right? But in order to order it to show or hide, here in my blueprint, I need some way of talking to this object, right? The way we do it is through references. And a reference is a type of variable that stores the reference of an object. I will select the object I want to hide or show, and with it being selected, now in my level blueprint, I can right click, and here it will show a create reference to cube. It says cube because here is the same name, no? I could just rename it to white platform, and there is a little typo, platform, and now here right click and create a reference to white platform. Now this is a variable that is storing the reference to this object. We haven't talked much about variables. If you're really new to blueprints and to programming or to coding or to scripting, a variable is like a little box that stores information that will be useful for later. We can create variables using this little panel. We click on plus, and then here is a variable. This little box that stores information, we need to tell it what kind of information it will store. So we can click here where it says Boolean to change that type. A Boolean type stores a true or false value. Whenever we create a variable, we need to compile. And right here in the details panel, I'm gonna, yeah, there it is. We have here the default value of this new variable. Because it's a Boolean, then it only stores false or true. If we needed a number, here we can change it to an integer. This stores a number that is like, it's not decimal, it's only 1, 2, 3, etc. If we want to change the default value, we need to compile it. So let me compile it here, and here it is. Now it is a number. If we added, I don't know, a 0.3, then it gets rounded. Now if we wanted a decimal value, we have floats or doubles. Now we have point something, and strings let us save text. There are a lot more types, but those are the fundamentals, like booleans, integers, floats, and strings. And well, vectors. Vectors are like floats, but there are 3 of them. So it usually have the X, Y, and Z position for locations, rotations, scales, etc. Although for rotations there is a specific value called rotator. But we don't have to worry too much about it just for now. Let me delete this variable. Now, this type of variable that is blue, it's referencing an object. And we can put our mouse on top of it, our cursor, and it would say that it's an static mesh actor object reference. Because it's an object reference, then I can tell them to hide or to show, and it will comply. So here I need to show the platform or to hide it if it's off. Then if the switch is true, then I want to show it. In order to show it, there is a function that comes with Unreal that is called hidden and set actor hidden in game. This new hidden, I want it to be, if I want to show it, then I want it to be false because I don't want to hide it. But if this is false, then the switch is not pressed, and then I do want to hide it. Now let's check if this works. I will compile, and in order to see if this is working properly, here where it says no debug object selected, I'm gonna press it and click on the demo map. Now when I press play, we will see these nodes being lit, right? They fire up. And here I will change to camera location so it doesn't start on the player start. I press play. It's false, and it's not being hidden, right? And that's because on this node here, there is a target. The target is where I'm gonna run this functionality. Here is connected, but for this node is not. So let's connect it. So we can send it the order. Play, and now, because this is false, it hides. If this changes to true, then it shows up. Oh well, it stays the same because it was already visible, right? Now, the things that will be missing is the collision part of it. Because if it's hidden, play, it still has a collision, and it doesn't let me pass through. So let's disable that collision. Here I will drag a new node called collision enable. And I can set actor enable collision. Whenever it's true, I want the collision to be enabled. So here I will put in true. And whenever it's false, I want it to be false. Now, this is very static because I'm setting the condition like this is called hard coding. There is a value that can't be changed on the fly on the runtime. So for this part, I want to create a variable that will be called is white switch press. Here is switch. Now with this variable, I wanted it to know if it's pressed or not, right? So a boolean is perfect for this job because it only stores a true or false. To use this variable, I just need to drag and drop it onto the event graph. And the event graph is the graph that will contain most of the logic of any blueprint. Now it asks me if I want to get this variable or if I want to set it. I can get it or I can set it. Setting it makes it able to change this variable in runtime, and getting it just returns the true or false value that I need in this case. So now I could change this variable in any level. I'll compile it and I can set it to true, so it will show here on any map that it implements this logic, or also I can turn it to false and it will work whenever I need it to. So that would be the way to properly set up a map. And usually the level blueprint, like I said, is used for triggering cinematic stuff and setting up default properties of some elements whenever the level starts. So if if any of the things I have said is not clear, it's a good time before going to the class blueprint, because here it complicates a little bit, just a tiny bit. So let's start with the class blueprint, right? And here we need to talk about a little bit of programming terminology. Unreal Engine uses what is called object-oriented programming, and in this object-oriented framework, the class blueprint would be considered an object. What is an object? An object is something that encapsulates information and functionality, right? For example, if I needed to have a car in the game, maybe I can create it as an object, right? Because I want to use it more than once and have more than one car, I could create an object called car. Or well, a vehicle. Because maybe my game designer is really not sure if we're gonna have cars or motorcycles, then vehicle. This vehicle will have acceleration value, velocity value, turn rate, maybe wheels, and those would be the information it stores. But also we can add functionality here. We can call accelerate. We here can put turn the steering wheel, brake. I don't know, maybe we have turbo in our vehicle, right? So the difference between information and functionality is this store values, and functionality stores behavior. Like accelerating will increase the acceleration value, this will increase the velocity value, and also it will move physically our object, right? It will translate it to another position. In this way, we don't have to create this type of class more than once, because once we create an object, we can reuse it. And the fact that it allows us to have hierarchies is that we can create a child of this object. We can create a child that is called a car. And in this car we can define that the acceleration it will be, I don't know, this value, velocity will be, I don't know, 4, turn rate 2.5, and the number of wheels will be 4. We really don't need to define the accelerate, turn the steering wheel, because it will be used. It already has been defined here. We can override the methods here if we need, for example, maybe for the car being in turbo mode means that the wheels spin faster, then we could add some extra stuff, right? But if we change our mind and we don't need a car, maybe we need a motorcycle, then it's easy to just reuse this object and create a class and just set up the name and then define like only the stuff that will be different, right? Maybe I just want to change the wheels because I don't want an ATV, I want two wheels only, right? And I put it here too. And everything will be exactly the same as the vehicle, only the wheels have changed to 2. This means that these objects are allowed to be instanced and that these instances are editable. This is why when we created 2 lights here, where is it? Lights, point lights. The class that is the parent of these 2 has all these attributes of intensity, light color, attenuation, radius, etc. But the instances here, again, we can change the color, it won't affect the other instances. So that's a benefit for when we are constructing functionality and where our level artists are creating more stuff here with blueprints, because making one change will not affect the other changes. So let's do a little example of this class, a little pickup class. The graph we will use will be, we want to give a coin to a player. So if the player gets close to a pickup, we need to ask if the player touched the coin. If it did, then we give the point to a player and we disappear or destroy the pickup, right? We hide the coins and their collision. And that's it. If the player doesn't touch the coin, then we don't have to do anything, right? For this little example, I need to add here some type of player. Maybe I can add the third person example. I could click here and add feature or content pack, third person, add to project. Now I need the coin. I could add also the starter pack, so I have something to play around and it doesn't look as boring as this platform. So let's wait a second while this starter content is being imported, and let me take a sip of water. So now if we check the content drawer, that we can pull it by clicking on it or control space, we have this starter content, and I want to create a coin, the pickup. So for a coin, I may want something round, maybe in geometry, meshes, no, maybe here in create shapes, a cylinder would be good. This cylinder, I'm gonna rotate it and then scale it. Now it's looking a little more like a coin, right? Also in the starter content, in the material folder, I believe there is gold. Yeah, here it is, metal, gold. To use a material, you just need to drag and drop it on top. And there is my gold coin. Now, I want to use the character that I just imported here in the third person example. I will go to the third person blueprint folder, blueprints, third person character, and I'm gonna drag and drop it into the level. I won't go over how to create the game mode and how to set up all the stuff. This is a little example. And if you want to use this character, because if right now I press play and default start, if I press play, I'm not using that character. We can click on the character, go to the detail panels, here on search details, type possess, and in auto possess, we want to use player 0. Now whenever we press play, we will control this player. So now we have the player, now we have the coin. We need to add the functionality of this. So we need to know if the player touched the coin. And for this, we need to create a little blueprint. We could create triggers here in the level, but it's more than likely that I will have more than one coin, right? So creating the same functionality in the level blueprint will cause us to have duplicate code, and whenever we have duplicate code, if we add some change, we need to add it on every part of the code that is being duplicated, and it encourages mistakes. So whenever something is repeated twice, it's probably good to change it to a class blueprint. Let's create a blueprint. We can go to the content drawer and find an appropriate folder. Here I will create a blueprint folder. And now you just right click and create a blueprint class. Yeah. So we said that blueprint classes were really powerful, and this is why. There are a lot of them. And we can even, these are the common ones. There are even more classes, and well, actor has even more classes that are the child classes of the actor. So yeah, there are a lot. And even then we can create more blueprint classes defined by us. So the complexity gets even higher. But don't worry. These common classes have most of the functionality that we need. Anything that can be placed in a level is an actor. So the pawn is a representation of our character, is an actor that can receive input. So the pawn is an actor, the character is an actor, player controller is an actor also. Game mode also. So besides these components, everything here is an actor. So when you start getting used to the Unreal Engine, you will find which classes are better suited for your needs. In our case, a simple pickup, it only needs to be an actor, right? Because I just want to place it in a level and I want it to have some type of interaction. So let's press actor, and I'm gonna call it BP for blueprint underscore pickup. Now, with this blueprint created, I can double click and I will find the blueprint, the complete blueprint editor. Why is it that this is the complete blueprint editor? Because if we compare it to the level blueprint, the level blueprint only has an event graph. The blueprint class has a viewport, a construction script, and an event graph. The viewport is how the blueprint will be represented in the level. If I wanted to have my coin like I do here, then I would need to add components. The components will help me add more functionality to my blueprint, and they encapsulate code in them. In my case, I want an static mesh, and this static mesh, I want it to be a cylinder. Shape cylinder. And now we have it here. So as you see, we have changed the functionality in base of the components that we're adding. So you can see a blueprint like a collection of components. By default, the blueprint creates a default scene root that it stores the location, rotation, and the scale of the blueprint. This can be overridden and deleted if I create a new component and just drag and drop it on top, like this. I won't do this because I wanted to have this default scene root, because it gives a little liberty to my static mesh, a little freedom. Also, you need to keep in mind that this component tab has also a little hierarchy. For example, I could add audio, I could add another static mesh, and depending on which is the parent of which, I will add, I don't know, the cube here. Whenever I move something, it will affect other components. In this case, they are not related, but if I put the static mesh and I attach it to this other static mesh that is the cylinder one, then if I move the cube, it's alright. But if I move the static mesh, it influences the cube. This is exactly how it works in other 3D softwares. Like, I don't know, maybe you guys use Maya or 3D Max or Blender. Yeah, it's pretty the same.
Pretty much, yes.
A mysterious voice appears. So yeah.
I'm still here. Even though I'm not a programmer, I'm still following your steps in the shadow.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm going too slow or too fast. Yes, let me know if maybe I'm over explaining things.
I think it's okay. Let's just keep like this. Time is abundant.
So well, we now have seen the components tab. Here, my blueprint tab is the same as we have seen already here in the level blueprint. It let us see all the events that have been created, all the functions, all the variables, and the components. We will be using more of this in a moment. So the viewport is how the blueprint will be seen. The construction script is a graph that where we can add a script that will be run before the game is played. And there is a little example at the end of this presentation. And the event graph that we know it already. It contains most of the code that the blueprints will have. So whenever you see a new blueprint that you have not created, be sure to check the viewport first, the components, make a quick glance in the construction script. If something is being set up, maybe a default value is being set up here. And then you can start checking all the event graphs and all the functionality that may or may not be here. So now we know how a blueprint is being, all the properties it has, the elements of it, that components, the graphs. And we did have here on the map a coin, and it will be a real headache if I needed to reproduce what I already did here. Right now it's simple because I only drag and drop a cylinder, rotate it, scale it, and then put it a material. But for more complex stuff, you could create blueprints by clicking on all the stuff that you wanted to be a blueprint. I could click on more than one object. In this case, I only want the coin. And I can go here on blueprints and convert the selection to a blueprint class. There are a lot of methods, like 3 of them, but I don't want to use the new subclass or the child actors. I want to harvest the components. Because my blueprint, I want to define the base class. It may not be a static mesh actor, so I want to use the base class called actor. And using harvest the component will create a blueprint that gets all the components that I have selected and adds them automatically. So I'm gonna click harvest components and click on my parent class actor. Select. And it has created a blueprint that, well, is a coin. It has been rotated weirdly because this coin is the root of my blueprint. I cannot rotate it. I can only scale it. So, oh no, I'm gonna, yeah, there it is. So in order to have more freedom, I'm gonna create a scene location component, scene component, and I'm gonna assign it as the root. Now, this static mesh component, I can rotate it and I can move it around as much as I please. So let's put it on 0, 0. And that's how I want it for now. So now I have the blueprint. I can compile it. I need to find it. I don't know where it was created, so I can press Ctrl B and it will show where the blueprint was created. I'm gonna change it to blueprint coin. And now I can, well, this was the coin that was created. Here is the cylinder blueprint, but that I can also add more to my map just by drag and dropping the coins. I will delete this static mesh. I don't need it anymore. And I will drag some coins to the map. Now, if I wanted to change the color of this coin, I can go here on the components of this blueprint, click on the static mesh and select a new material. And because I'm changing an instance, then not all of the stuff is changing. But if I went to the blueprint and I change the material here to, I don't know, this rust that maybe steel, and I compile, then all of the blueprints will change. So it's easier to maintain the consistency of stuff around the level. Let me return it to gold experience. Compile, save. And now it's like it was before. Let me return this to the default value. And this is not what I wanted, so let me just delete it. No, delete. There it is. You can duplicate easily if you press Ctrl W or just press Alt and keep pressing it and just drag the object. So it's easier to duplicate stuff. So what do we need in order to return to our graph and have some sense of direction? What do we need to know if the player is touching the coin? We need some kind of, in Unity they call it collider. Here it's called collision component. So let's open the blueprint. We can right click on a blueprint and click on browse asset. It will show here, or right click and edit coin. The Ctrl B or Ctrl E. Usually I use Ctrl E. Now here, to have an area where the player can collide with, I need to add a component for this. And I will find, if I type collision, that we have box collision, capsule collision, or sphere collision. For this type of interaction, I would need a sphere collision. This sphere collision has been created as a child of this static mesh component, so I'm gonna drop it on top of it so they can be on the same level. This sphere collision, that I will name sphere call, has properties that I can change. Every component has them, and we can find them in the details panel. I want to change the radius. I just need to increase it here, and I can see how it changes also in the level, so I can know if maybe the radius is too much or it's too little. So something like this should be fine. Yeah, that seems quite nice. I'm gonna round the value just to be a little more clean. And now I need to know when does this collision component will collide with my character. Just to be sure, we can scroll down and find the category called collision. Here we have a lot of presets, and talking about collisions and presets and defaults and channels can take a lot of time. So we won't bother too much with it right now. We just want to know that it can overlap the pawn. Our pawn, we said that is the representation of a character, of an actor that can receive input. So what can send input to an actor? A player. A player can send inputs, and also the artificial intelligence can send orders to pawns. So yeah, I want to overlap only with pawns. And if we scroll down further, here I can see all the events that this component can trigger. In this case, these are the two events that I would need, or well, I only need the begin overlap. So I just need to click here on the plus sign, begin overlap, click, and it auto creates an event that will be triggered by this sphere collision. If we want to know if this is working, we can add some debug code like print, and here we can put the collision has been overlapped. I'm gonna save it, compile, and in my level play, and oh, because I was already in that collision, let me scale this map. Because I was already in the collision, it didn't trigger. Oh, and if you are struggling to put something on the ground, you can press the end key, so it snaps to the ground. So let's press play, and there is the message: the collision has been overlapped. So we know it's working. So what do we need to do when the collision is overlapped? We need to give points to a player and hide coins to their collision. To give points to a player, we would need the reference of that player, right? Like we use the reference of the platform here, like this, but we can't get it from the level. If we remember, to get the reference for this platform, we just selected it and we went to the level blueprint, right click, and here is the reference, right? In the coin, we can't just click the third person character and right click it. It won't do anything because class blueprints are not bounded by the level. We can use this coin in any level. So there isn't a straightforward way to get the reference. In our case, because we're using a begin overlap, this node returns some values. The first one is the overlap component. This is the component that has been overlapped. In this case, it would be our sphere collision. And the other actor would be the reference of the actor that has been overlapped. In this case, this would be my character. So here, we could give the points to a character. Because giving the points would be a hassle to do right now, and it won't help us too much on this example, I will add pseudocode, like typing here, give 1 coin to, and I want to add the character name here. So in this pin, I will drag and drop it out and press append, so I can have more than one string. The first string will be give on coin 2, and the second one will be the display name of this actor. So I can drag and drop it on top, and it will get that display name. I'll compile it, and whenever I play this third person character, I would call it I don't know, Bobby. So I press play, I'm inside, and it says give on coin to Bobby. So we have we have completed this part of the graph, of the flowchart, and also this part. We just need to hide the coins and their collision, right? if this pickup will not be, I don't know, there are some coins or pickups that you get them and after some time they appear again, then you just need to hide them and make them show up again whenever you need them. But if they won't appear again in your game, then you can just destroy them. Destroy actor. So this way, if we compile and save, we can play, and whenever Bobby gets a coin, it's being destroyed.
That's a big coin.
Yeah, it should be worth more, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's golden one. Fair enough.
So maybe we want to it for to change the value. We can add a variable here. We can make it called coin value. Oh, here is the type. I want an integer because I don't want to give two and a half coins to someone. Coin value, and here I will create an I will create another pin. Here it is, pin, and I will give the number of coin values like this. Two, and there it is. Coin value I believe now is 0. I will set it to 1, but maybe I want this one to be bigger, and this one will be maybe 10, right? If I want to change some values in the level, then this variable, I need it to be editable in the instances. So here in the details panel, we have instance editable. We can press it to true here, or we can just press this eye icon. If it's closed, you cannot edit it in the instances, and if it's true, then you can. I need to compile. And now whenever I click one of these coins, I can change that coin value to maybe 3, 30. This one I want 5, and this one 2. And it's not really good if all of them are the same size and give you different values, so I'm gonna make them a little bit bigger just to keep consistency. And you pick up this coin, 1 coin, the other one is 30, this is 5, and this is 2, and the message changes. So we can
So
create.
I will spec to win the game with the other one.
What did you say?
If I pick that coin and I see a coin of that size, I will expect to win the game.
Yeah. Like Fall Guys, that they try to get like an enormous. I don't remember what it is. It's a crown, I think, but yeah, something of that size should be really important. Yeah.
Yeah. More into that later, maybe in another video about game design.
Yeah, that could be a really interesting topic.
Yeah. Yeah, it will. It will be.
And this is the way, and you can see the possibilities of creating more interactions on top of them and making some complex decisions that can be changed easily. If we didn't use variables like this one, then you would manually have to duplicate this class and change this value, right? And if you don't know what this node is, is just a node that converts the value from a numeric value to a text value.
And normally what will happen in companies is that programmers create this kind of tools for game designers to use, because I think like maybe 50% of the development of the game is based on testing, and they play a lot with that, I guess. So it should be very important to know which one to be public, which one to be not public. You don't want to give total freedom, but at the same time, they still want to test like what are the possibilities they can do if they play with different values to get unexpected behaviors.
Yeah, and you touch a very important point, like creating tools to artists, to game designers. They need to have these values because they probably would and will get lost in your blueprints, even though they can be easy to understand. They may understand this part of the code, but they may not understand the implications, so they can make changes and end up messing up your blueprint without knowing. So just exposing these variables is a lot safer than just giving them the blueprint and telling them that they can do whatever they want.
Awesome.
And that leads us to the construction script. That is the construction script executes when an actor is added to the world or when a property of that actor changes. It's used to provide smart behavior inside the Unreal Editor and heavily used on procedural topics. In this example, we will improve the pickup. Maybe we want to have more than one coin, so we can set up the number of coins that this pickup will give us, right? And just to leave this clear, this execution script is this construction script is the one that we can find here. We can add a debug code print, and here I will tell it construction executed. We will compile it, save it, and I will add this blueprint to the level. And my property duration, don't tell me this has changed. Yes, it's not showing up the code. Oh yeah, I see it now. Yeah, it's not showing in the viewport, but it is showing in the output log that we opened a little while. So let me clear it. Let me add it again. Content drawer, blueprint coin. And we have here the execution code. Clear log, and whenever a property changes, like the position, it executes. Also, whenever we change this value that we created, it also gets executed. So any code that we put here in the construction will execute, like we said, when the actor is added to the world or when the property changes. So how can we use it in a more practical way? Here we want to customize how many coins the pickup should spawn. So at the start, we want the editor to choose, we want the level designer or the artist to choose which number of coins we want to spawn, how many. Then ask if all the coins were created. Then we can end the script, but if we have not created all the coins that we need, we can create an instance of the coin, choose an appropriate place for the created coin, and do it everything again. So it's a loop until all the coins are created. So let's do it. We need to know how many coins we want to create. We can use this coin value, but maybe not. Maybe it's good to create another variable. So in my coin here, I want to create a variable, call it number of coins, or if you see blueprints of a programmer, this will be probably called just n coins, number of coins. But I leave it like this so it's more friendly. Number of coins.
Yeah.
I know you will appreciate it.
Not only me.
So now we have this variable that we can change. If we want to change it in the editor, we need to make it instance editable. Just right click on the eye, compile it, and now in this coin we have the coin value and the number of coins. We can change it to 4. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen anything yet. But just wait. So here, the default value of this variable, I may need to change it to 1, just so whenever I create a coin, it's not completely empty. And what I will do is create this component a lot of times, because I don't need to create a lot of sphere collisions. I just need more coins. So I can, this is an static mesh component. I will delete this code, and here I will add an static mesh component. Now we need some information of this static mesh. If we click the node, left click it, it asks me which static mesh do I want. I'm gonna go to this, the one that I already have set up. Click on the browse. It shows where this static mesh is being stored, and then click on this node and click on this arrow that says use. It will use the asset that is currently being selected. So it will change to the cylinder. I also want this material, shows up the folder where it's being stored, and set it up here. Now, I believe if I compile, it may show me an error. Compile. Oh, it doesn't, because this relative location is set to 0, 0. So now that we have this, we need to change also the rotation, right? This rotation is minus 90. I'm gonna copy it. Here, rotation, paste it. The scale is also changed. Copy and paste. Compile
I
it.
don't want to be bring bad luck, but probably it's a good time to save.
Okay.
I'm just not sure if that.
Yeah. Let's remember that it's an early access.
I'm paranoid. I'm paranoid. Yeah. Especially with early access. It always crashes when it shouldn't.
Yeah, when you least expect it.
Yeah.
So now it's similarly, we have the same, but we can delete this static mesh component, and we will have the one that we have created in the construction script. Now we need to hook it up to the number of coins. For this, we will manipulate the flow of execution by using, we have here flow. These are the nodes that change the flow of execution, we need the for loop. And the for loop is a loop that will execute a number of times depending on what you put here. So let me put it this way. If the first index is 0 and the last index is 0, then it will enter here. The index is 0 and the end is 0, then it will execute only one time. If we compile it, viewport, there it is. If we put the last index as 1, it will check first the first index 0, it executes one time, then last index 1, then it adds to the index 1, and then runs it again. So if I compile it, it's being run twice, but it's using the same location, so it doesn't seem like twice, right? So let's change the location. We can change the location here in the relative location. You can split it, or you can make this relative transform by dragging this pin and pressing make transform. I just need to change the location. Here I'm gonna split the pin. And I only need to tell me.
Maybe a little bit off topic. Aravin Amasa is asking what is the best way for handling widget actors. First option, create and destroy, or second option, show and hide.
Widget
Any
actors.
idea on that? Yep.
Yeah. Let me.
A little bit off topic.
Yeah, a little bit of topic. Yeah, let's answer it because he has shown up to the stream. He has the power to ask stuff.
Yeah,
so for
stop the time.
So widgets, you probably know how to create them. Create widget. No, it's not create widget. Oh, I mean the construction script. You need to use an event graph. Create widget, right? And you will have a class widget. Oh, there is an animation sample UI. And this will, one, reference this class, right? This animation sample UI that I really don't have any idea of what it has. Yeah, it has these elements. And to add it to the viewport, you just need to probably save this variable and then add to the viewport, right? If you destroy this, let me create it as a variable so we can destroy it. Promote to variable, new widget. It should probably look something like this. If you destroy it, then this variable, let's say, I don't know, after 5 seconds, is the stream still going?
Yep.
It shows
Welcome back.
My desktop there.
Yep.
Yeah.
See, I'm kind of like the prophet. I kind of.
You jinxed me,
it
man.
Is.
You jinxed me. You said it's safe because it can crash.
Yeah, safe.
You crashed my computer. Yeah, thank you very much, man.
I guess I gave you bad luck.
Let's open the demo again.
I wonder what do you do to crash your computer and not the not the engine.
I don't know.
Time for an upgrade.
It's really time for an upgrade. This.
Oh, by the way, share your screen to me.
Oh, right. Yes.
I'm not sure if that will affect the viewers. I can still watch what you do with some delay in the
No,
chat,
Discord
but let's say.
shouldn't crash the computer. I believe I had Firefox with too many tabs. That
Oh,
sometimes
okay.
is a problem.
Yeah, Firefox, Google, heavier than Unreal sometimes.
Yeah, so it's opening. It's gonna take a little while because my computer is a little old and
You,
yeah.
you let Arabin Amase with a cliffhanger.
Well, we can talk a little bit about, I don't know, the file structure. It's something that that we can discuss.
Sure, if you feel that's valuable.
I mean, if you have not used Unreal and you're just learning blueprints, because that was the intention of this stream. But the other question, we will answer the question that was left hanging. Let's say you want to share the project with someone else. You don't really need to copy all of this. You just need the uproject, the content, and the config. That's all you need. These three folders that are the ones that, that will probably heavier and larger in size are auto-generated, so you don't really need them. You just need these three. Or well, if you had code, there will be a folder called source code. Come on. Oh, it's slowly but surely.
Low
Let
but
me.
steady. Arabin is asking what is your PC specs. Should be an old one.
It's
3 years? No, five. I don't remember.
it's a really old one. Okay, I can show it so they can bully me. I have a NVIDIA GTX 970 with which was great like 3 years ago maybe. CPU also really old. I have at least 32 gigs of memory, but it's DDR3. So yeah, really old computer.
Thing worse.
Skip restore. And we were here, I believe. Nope, that's the wrong language. And this is also. Oh, don't tell me. Yeah, this one. This is the latest. Yeah, there it is. There. Nope, there is. No. That's not it. This is it. Let me save it. I'll save it later. Hopefully this doesn't happen again. Space editing swap. Yeah. Now, let's retake the
The question.
the question. Yeah.
The widget question.
Yeah, and yeah, it seems I lost the presentation of the completely in English one. So yeah, let's retake the, the questions.
Just for those who haven't figured out already, Ram's native language is not English. This is Spanish, and he's actually a Unreal Authorized Structure in Latin America. That's why this kind of presentations are in Spanish.
Yeah, in
But
Spanish
he
first,
made the
but
effort to
yeah.
translate just for you
And
guys.
I didn't save the map, Mauricio. I'm sorry. But the blueprint
Oh,
should
dear.
still be there. Yeah, here it is.
That's the good thing about blueprints.
Coin value, number of coins. Yeah. So let's retake the questions. Little recap. I show how the widgets are created. How would you remove it? Let me just in case. Usually most of the crashes with Unreal comes from the construction script. So just in case, I'm gonna unlink that. So yeah, you create the widget, you select the class, you want to save the variable so you can use it. New widget. This gives us the ability to send information to this widget. Let's say that if I wanted here to create a function, let's, I don't know, get level sequence actor or rewind animation to start, I can call it with this reference. Get sequence. I can. What was the name of this? Get level sequence actor, and it's not. It's public. This is animation. Get. No, it doesn't show me. Let me create a widget really fast, really quick. Content drawer, content blueprint demo, blueprints, right click, user interface, widget blueprint, widget blueprint, my cool widget. So if I want to send it information, let's say set, I don't know, I want to pass the coin value. And I wanted to receive here a little input, integer, compile, save, blueprint coin. The new widget will be my cool widget. This variable breaks because it was an animation sample UI widget. Yes. Right click it, promote variable, my widget rep. So now I can set coin value, I can call functions on it, send them parameters, update the information, right? If I want to remove it, what I was doing before it crashed was remove from parent, so we can make it go away from the viewport. This is the viewport. And the question, can you repeat it to me?
Because it's like, which is better way to handle the widget actor? Create and destroy, or show and hide?
Oh, right. So this is like hiding it, but it's not exactly hiding it, right? Hiding it would be coming here in the designer, and let's say I have a button here, and this button that now by default is gray, which looks actually pretty nice. If I want to hide it, we could set the alpha render opacity to 0, right? And it's hidden. But this being hidden doesn't mean that it's not being processed. If it's put in the viewport like this, I haven't put it in the viewport. Let me add it. Okay. To viewport. If it's being put in the viewport like this and we hide it, this way, it's still being rendered. It's only that the way the widgets are rendered, and we can use a tool to check it out. It's called here on Windows Cinematic. No, it's Windows Developer editor mode, viewports, details, content, word partition. No. Tools, then debug, widget reflector. Here it is. Yeah. Pick. You can see all the structure the widget are being, how they are being processed. So here, in order to determine which parts of the screen it needs, it needs to calculate these spaces, right? If you just hide it, it still calculates these types of space. So you can use it just hiding it if something will pop up fastly and it's still relevant, just not that relevant. For example, what it occurs to me, maybe you have this button that should only pop up when you're near a door. So this could be valid in that case, right? Now, if you just remove it like this, you're effectively removing all of the widget from the screen, which also it will work if you want to remove all of the screen, but you are still storing a variable that contains all the information that a screen has, which, depending on your case, it's good, it's valuable. If you delete it like this, destroy, can destroy it. Destroy actor, and I can't connect it here. It seems it let me check if there are another node here. No. Remove
Typical
item.
streaming. Everything works without streaming. It's basically allow.
No. I used to remember that there was a node that you could destroy, like actually call it to destroy, but I believe that,
remember too.
yeah, so if there isn't a node here, and you would need to do it in C++, the other way to destroy variables is just set, in this case it's an object variable to my widget. You would just need to do this and set the variable to a null value and clear the stuff that it has inside, because we said variables are like boxes. This is like throwing the box out of the window. This way the engine has its own garbage collection, and after some time it will check all the variables that are empty and start cleaning the stuff that are not referenced anywhere. So this will effectively destroy it, right? Not in the same frame, but at the pace that the garbage collection wants it. That it most of the time is the optimal way. So you don't really need to think too much about it. This works, and this is also a good way to destroy stuff. Now,
that's a forbidden technique.
In which cases you would probably do not want to do this would be for menus that are constantly popping up and it's the same menu. For example, if I was playing a third-person game, adventure game, where I can kill someone and I get close to it and and I can loot it, like right click it, and a little menu shows up where I have a lot of I don't know, boxes that represent the inventory. Maybe I have something like this. And the core of the game is recollecting loot. So you know that you will have this widget popping up a lot, right? So you could get away with just creating it once, assigning it a variable, adding it to the, well, not necessarily adding it to the viewport. You just need to add it to the viewport whenever you need. And before adding it to the viewport, you could here create a function called, I don't know, refresh items. So you will effectively be reducing this widget by just refreshing these items. And here you would need to call refresh items, and after refreshing them, we can add it to the viewport. So you are only creating one object that will be reused for a lot of stuff. So this way you don't need to really remove it. Well, you do need to remove it from the viewport whenever it's not needed, but you don't need to delete it, because the stuff that mostly creates a little bit of lag and reduces performance in most of the game engines is, one, creating stuff, like spawning stuff using this. If I were to do this a million times, it would probably crash my computer, because what this does is looks in the disk return the class. The class will have all the information it needs, and then it spawns it and creates an instance of that class in the level. If that class was already loaded on memory, then the steps are reduced. You only load it from memory and create an instance on the level, and it becomes real fast. But removing also it's a little bit heavy to the processor, because you need to access that part of the memory and clear it. And because you have cleared it from memory, whenever you spawn it again, it will have to look on the disk and load it. So this can become a little bit, can make you lose a little bit of performance. But doing this releases memory. So if you are constrained probably to mobile games, you need to take care a lot of what you're loading into memory. So having it this way, like creating the widget and then releasing the memory by letting the garbage collection do its thing, will actually help you, because memory is limited. But if you're limited by performance, then you would probably like to keep this variable alive and just reuse it as much as you can. If you can't reuse it, then you should just delete it. But it depends on what game you're trying to do. Did that answer the question? We can go forward and retake the question if a follow-up question comes. And I'll open the stream.
I think it does.
Okay.
Should be okay. I'll let you know if there is any question.
Yeah, I'll open the stream from my phone so it doesn't crashes. Yeah. So let's continue. What we were trying to do is give the ability, and I will recap it, so Mauricio, your job is easier when you need to cut this. If we manage to cut this into parts. What we were doing is a way to have.
Yeah.
Okay. What we were doing is trying to have a way so the game developers, game designers, artists, or whatever person that needs to change this coin, to have more than one coin, right? We said that we use a construction script for this because this needs to happen before the game starts. And the construction script, this script happens whenever we add some actor to the level or whenever we change a detail of it, a property. It can be location, rotation, scale, it can be anything from this details asset. So the way we're doing this is here in the viewport. I deleted this static mesh because in the construction script, I'm creating it again by adding an static mesh component. Here I have already set up the cylinder, the material, the rotation, and the scale. So it's matching with the component that I have here in the viewport. So I will delete this component. Gonna compile. There's nothing. Construction. Add it. Compile. And I have it again. We wanted to create more of it, not just one. So we said that there were nodes that control the flow of execution. This one would be the for loop. In programming, the index always starts in 0. You can manipulate here to start on 1, but it's common knowledge that the index is 0. So whenever you ask the first item, whenever you ask a programmer for the first item, it will be 0. Or well, it should be 0. If the last index is 2, for example, I'm not running this 2 times. I'm running it 0, 1, and 2. I'm running it 3 times. So I had created, before I crashed my computer, a variable called number of coins. Is an integer, and this is the default value of 1. And now if I press compile, I'm running this 3 times, right? Because 0, 1, and 2. I want to change this location. So I will make this transform. A transform is a type of variable that stores a vector that stores the location, a vector for the rotation, and a vector for the scale. In this case, the rotation is another color because it uses a type of variable called rotator, which is mostly used for some math with rotations. Yeah, rotator, they have their own nodes. I only want to change the location though. So here I will split it. And I want to change only the x-axis for now. So in the index, I'm gonna multiply it. Oh no, I'm gonna add it. Excuse me. And I'm gonna add some value here. Oh, let's say I want to space the coins by how much? Maybe by 50. So yes, I'm gonna multiply it, and you see why in a minute. If I multiply it by 50, then the first index will be 0. 0 multiplied by 50 is 0, so the location will be 0. If I multiply it, the next index is 1, then 1 multiplied by 50 is 1, then the location will be 50, and the last index is 2, then this will be 100, right? Makes sense. Then I could compile it. I'm gonna go to a viewport, and now I can see the times I'm I'm moving this new static mesh component that is being created by the construction script. Right now the location is a little weird because I have not set it up here. I wanted these values and the scale like this. Whatever we do in the construction script, it will not happen until we compile. And this didn't save. Great. Compile, and there it is. Now we should create a variable for this type of spacing, so let's create it. I will probably want a decimal value, so I will create space between coins. And this will be a float. I'm gonna, when you drag and drop a variable, it will ask you, but if you don't want it to ask you, you can just drag and drop the variable and hold Control and drop it, and that will get the variable. If you hold Alt, oops, I hold the Windows key. If you hold Alt, then you will get the set variable node. In this case, I want this one, and I want it to have a default value of 50. It's giving me an error because this is converting something here, and I do not need to convert it, because if I multiply an integer with a float, it will give me automatically a float. There it is. So this space, now that I have hooked it up to the construction script, I can modify it here and it will change. Now I need to do the same with the number of coins. Let me put it instance editable. And for the number of coins, I just need to add this variable here. If I put it like this, it will execute an extra step, because right now it's 2. The first index is 0. Then it will run 3 times. We can fix it like this, like putting the first index in 1. But I really dislike that approach, so I'm gonna just subtract 1 to the total value. Is what usually is done in programming, but you can do it however you like. Compile, save again. I'll save even the widget just in case. And now here in the viewport, I can change the number of coins, 5. And it's not only here. This becomes an incredible tool for game designers and level artists. Because here, well, the coin value is 5, maybe I should have 5 coins. So now, if this was, I don't know, a fence or a light post, you could create easy stuff like this, and it's being executed every time any of these variables or properties changes. Just to give a little bit of a warning, if you intend to do some procedural stuff like this, you do not want to add an static mesh component like this. You will probably need an instanced static mesh. Here you define the static mesh that you need, like the cylinder. Because, like I said, creating stuff is really like starts killing your performance a little by little, right? And this is adding new components. Here you only need one component and just add an instance So this approach is a lot more optimal like this one, but this one is easier to understand. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the construction script. I don't know if there are questions about it or about other stuff. I believe
But on my side,
the only thing missing would be the last part, that it thankfully it did save in English. And that would be the gameplay framework, right? Right. Now that you know how to create blueprints, it will be really useful for you to know which classes there already exists. Because we only have seen the actor. Here. This is an actor. We can go to a parent class, actor. Technically, also this is an actor. This also is an actor. But not everything will be exactly only an actor, right? If I wanted the third person character that I dragged and dropped last time, here it is. This is also an actor, but if we go to a parent class, we can see that the subclass is a character. And if we open a character, we will see that a subclass is a pawn. And the pawn, we said that it was an actor that can receive inputs. So for a specific type of stuff that you want to make and create, you need to know if there are maybe a class that adapts better to your needs. So you don't need to have to reinvent the wheel every time you want to do something new, right? I do not want to create an state machine that can handle walking, jumping, and running. I can go and create a character that has this component of character movement that already have a gravity scale, movement, walking, falling, jumping, swimming, flying, and custom movement. So it really makes stuff a lot easier if you know how to handle the gameplay framework. It also details how the engine starts the instance of the level, the characters, in which order they are executed, and there are basic gameplay classes to represent players, control avatars with input or AI logic, manage user interfaces. Yeah, user interfaces. That would be the HUD, if you want to manage the HUD specifically. Pawn class, actors that can receive input, player controllers are the representation of the player that sends those inputs. Player state and game state are classes reserved for the networking stuff part of the engine. And game mode is where the rules of the games are usually put. Usually rules that have to do with the state of the game. Like if the state of the game is beginning, is in progress, is gonna end, maybe there is a timer, you should put it in the game mode. And game instance is a class that it's persistent. It doesn't, once it's created, it's not deleted until the game ends and you close the game. And it usually works in our favor to save variables and stuff that we don't want to lose whenever we change from level to level, because every level has its own blueprint, its own game mode. So saving stuff in the game mode may not be a good idea, or in the characters maybe even a less great idea. And in dev research should help a lot whenever you're starting to get a lot more done in blueprints, right? So yeah, that's all. That should set questions. If there are questions, also, this would be a great time.
not for now.
So yeah, also we can try to answer questions that are not relevant to the stream, like the one the widgets. Really interesting stuff. But if there are not any, we can end the stream. I know that here in Peru is like 11 in the morning, but for you is 12 in the
Until 15 in the night.
uh,
13 hours difference. It's okay. Bad words.
so
But
so Mao, how are you planning to use blueprints now that you have the power?
uh, I'm trying to use a construction strip more to like randomize stuff, or just, for example, I used to create the fences like one by one and duplicate the objects, and like create an area surrounded by meshes duplicated. And yeah, for personal pieces, it's like, sure, I can do it. Takes 1 hour. At this point in my life, I don't have 1 hour. So I think I will just start first off creating like a library of blueprints of meshes first, like composite meshes that I can use in the future from Megascan's assets. And I think that I want to do more dynamic stuff in the future, like move objects around, like rotate them, things like that. And yeah, it's not that hard.
Yeah, uh, maybe next time we can talk about actor components. I believe I show you like here in the editor you can add a lot of stuff of components that give a lot more of dynamism to the level. For example, here I have want to rotate it like this, and maybe I want this to start rotating, and this actor that is only an static mesh, I can add more components here. I can click add, and there is a rotating component, rotating movement, and if I press play, play, then, well, it doesn't rotate because of course it doesn't. Here I need to set it up as movable, and now, well, it's it's rotating in the wrong angle. Let's change it, and we can add a lot of different behavior by only adding some components. I believe this is y-axis, rotating component, rotation rate 0. This is y. There it is. There it is. And you really only would need to start programming your components, and then you can add them. So it's very common at the start that you create a lot of blueprint classes that does almost the same and try to do everything, right? Like, oh, I want a class that can rotate and move, and you create exactly that class, but whenever a requirement changes in your level, then you need to start changing that class. It's a lot easier to maintain if you divide a lot of the behavior into components that you can add, and then that component is in charge of only one thing. Like in this case, it's rotating. There's another component that is in charge of moving. Interrupt to movement. I'm gonna create 2 points, and this position is in Y. Yeah, let's say I want to click here on interp component on Y. I want it to be 200. This behavior type ping pong, so it can go forward and backward. And there it is. You could probably you could probably create a blueprint that does exactly this, but if for any reason you need to change it, then you need to refactor a lot of code, probably. So having it in separate components helps a lot.
I guess like because you're using the actor.
Yeah, the actor is a little container of components.
The actor or copy the components. I guess I'm able to copy components too. But of course, if it's like a mechanic that you will see in the game over and over, the best way is to create the blueprint class, right?
That depends. That depends really a lot. It's because the class should be seen as more like a representation of an object. We were talking about a little bit of object-oriented programming. That's a way we can encapsulate behavior and encapsulate mostly the data, the properties. We talked about the car, the number of wheels, how much it accelerates. That stuff should be in a class blueprint. There's no other way around it. But when it comes to behavior, we can create, for example, a component that accelerates, and we may want to use it for vehicles, we may want to use it for ships, for I don't know, bicycles, maybe planes. If it's generic enough, it will work, and it will save time. So you just need to see what things you can reuse, and what you will probably know whenever you are duplicating code, because you will have a feeling in your gut saying that, hey, didn't I already do this before? And you would probably have.
That sounds good. Yeah, I already have crazy ideas in my mind, like what can I do with this component. I mean, just by adding components, just stand out of the rest of the crowd, where you have, where you create your scene and everything looks so static. But suddenly someone decides to put something moving, and oh, it's alive.
Yeah. That's exactly what happens.
Yeah, and it's so simple. There is no reason not to do that. And literally takes like 1 minute to add this component.
Yep. It's really simple. And yeah, having a little class about actor components can be a little bit eye-opener if you have only used blueprints for everything, because I did exactly the same things. Then I started researching components, and my eyes were opened, and I saw the truth. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. I'm not sure if this component thing is talked about too much. I'm not sure, but I never hear about it before, and it was all about creating blueprint class.
Yeah, that's the starter pack.
Yeah, very nice.
Oh, they ask if. Oh, you can read it.
Which question?
About the spell.
Yeah, actually, we plan to make more tutorials about a lot of topics. Our team, who are just 3 dudes, focusing on different aspects of game development, so we can cover pretty much almost everything. Ram obviously is a programmer. I do art, 3D, and the other guy called Guillermo does VFX. So right now he's focusing on Niagara, so we can bring more Niagara tutorials. And in the future, if we do any kind of class for that, hopefully it will be in Niagara. But I'm sure he has more topics to share. But yeah, we plan to do a lot of different tutorials. This should be a constant thing for us. Next time, maybe do environment or something like that, and to show some other things. We try to keep it simple. The first one is just an introduction. But as time goes, we may add more interesting topics and more advanced topics, or yeah. So I guess that that could answer the question.
Yeah.
And of course, if you have any idea of what kind of tutorial you would like to see, just let us know, and hey, we might make it. I mean,
Yeah. We
that
can
also
skip
help us too.
the simple stuff also if there is interest.
Yeah,
But we will try to keep it simple at first.
yeah. More complex topics coming up soon, and of course, maybe more interesting to some people. But yeah, still the beginner stuff. It's always in demand. A lot of people are new to Unreal, so we want to cover it as well. But yeah, more tutorials coming soon.
Yeah. And be sure to leave a comment on the particle videos saying that he shouldn't
Yeah,
be so shy so he can come on the stream. And yeah.
yeah. He's a very shy guy when it comes to teaching stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll try to get him here eventually. He's actually a very good VFX artist. And thank you, Aravin, for your words. We deserve more subscribers. Yeah, we know that.
Yeah,
And
so
they will-
humble, man. So humble.
No, but
Thanks for the
thank
car.
you. It's just a matter of time. We hopefully with your help and support we will get there, and we will try to give more valuable things for you. I mean, so that it can be a very useful channel for game development. That's the idea.
Yeah, I believe that will be it for today.
Yep.
We have a great time with my PC crashing.
Yeah. Reload fast, but that's a good thing. All right. So if there is no more questions, we will end the stream. And if you got any question or you want to see any class in the future, just let us know in the comments and we may make a video about it. Oh, Anupam just asked, Unreal 5 and Unreal 4 blueprints are different.
Oh, um, it, they are almost exactly the same. Small changes, like what I noticed was in Unreal 4, here in the variables, you could change easily from an object and an array, like just right clicking here. Yeah, that doesn't work here, or I haven't found a way to do it. So the way I have to do it, oh, right click, no. The way is here in details, array, set, map, etc. Yeah, this is exactly the same as Unreal 4, but in Unreal 4 you could right click on top of the color and it changed to variables. Also, where was it? Here in the coin. If you remember, for example, for math operation. If you had multiply, you needed to specify exactly which types of variables you needed to multiply. In this case, Unreal 5 knows it all, so it autofills it. You just need to press. You want to multiply? There it is. You want addition? It's more of a wildcard that you can connect here and change to whatever your needs are. Well, yeah, it works still. Those are the big changes I have seen. And well, the buttons, it's really nice to not have like 10% of the screen being occupied by a compile button. And
Oh, that's a big one, man.
yeah, I believe everyone who used Unreal 4 is really glad of that.
I don't know who came up with that idea, but should get promoted or something.
Yeah. Yeah, all of this other stuff was already in the engine, so yeah, the fact that this is smaller makes this little selector a lot more easier to get. Otherwise, you needed to put this bar in a weird spot. So when you press play, these three buttons that don't occlude this one. So yeah, those are the biggest difference I have seen thus far. If I manage to find more, then I probably made a little video like 30 seconds like, oh, I found this. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. But yeah, exactly the same, almost exactly the same, the blueprints.
Yeah, the transition should be as smooth as possible. So there is no problem if you are having dubs you want to do your project in Unreal 5 or Unreal 4. I recommend Unreal 5 unless it's a very serious one and you have a date where you need to ship it. Then you need to have a stable version of the engine. But otherwise, I will start with Unreal 5. By the time you finish your project, probably Unreal 5 is already in production state.
Yeah, but even then, the things could change like drastically. So maybe if you create some stuff here and the nodes change, then you may find yourself in a situation where you need to rebuild a lot of stuff. So if your livelihood will depend on it, then don't use it. Don't use Unreal 5. But if it's more like it's your first project, you don't have like too much pressure on it, and you don't have deadlines, then by all means use Unreal 5. It will give you a head start for when the commercial version releases.
Okay. So if no more questions, we will wrap it up here. Thank you guys for being here. We'll do more of this in the future. So if you want to see any specific class, just let us know in the comments and we may do a video about it. And make sure you check the links in the description. And we'll see you in the next one.